That ancient stone holds a message meant to last for millennia. You are about to learn how to read it. By the time we are finished, you will possess the key to deciphering the words carved by Romans 2,000 years ago. We will uncover the hidden meanings behind strange abbreviations and explore why a single letter could reveal a person's entire social standing. What story do you think is waiting in the stone? The letters carved into that stone might look familiar at first glance, but they are a key to a different world. The Roman alphabet you are seeing is the direct ancestor of our own, yet it operated under a different set of rules. To read their words, you must first see the world through their letters. Classical Latin had no J, no U, and no W. This changes everything. The letter V was a workhorse, doing double duty for both the sound we know as U and the sound of V. When you see the word Ivlivs, for instance, you are not looking at a jumble of consonants. You are looking at the name Julius. That first V is a U, and the name is pronounced Eulius. This single letter forces your brain to switch modes, constantly deciding if it is seeing a vowel or a consonant. Another letter to watch is I. Just like V, it could be both a vowel and what we would think of as a consonant J. The name Ivlivs also shows this, where that first I makes a Y sound. Then there is C, which was always hard, like a K. The famous orator Cicero's name was pronounced Kaikro, a sharp, crisp sound that echoes quite differently in your mind. Mastering these few quirks is like finding the first and most important piece of the puzzle. It transforms a confusing inscription into a string of pronounceable, recognizable words, pulling the voice of the stone out of the silence. Now you can read the letters, but the real challenge is that the Romans rarely wrote out a full word. Space on stone was precious, and carving was a laborious task, leading to a culture of widespread abbreviation. This is where the code truly begins to crack open. You will constantly encounter clusters of letters that seem to make no sense, but these are not random. They are a formal, efficient shorthand. One of the most common phrases you will find, especially on tombstones, is the letters DM. This stands for dis manibus, meaning to the spirits of the dead. It is a dedicatory phrase, a way of consecrating the memorial to the underworld gods. Seeing DM at the top of an inscription immediately tells you that you are looking at a funerary monument. Another fascinating abbreviation is VSLM, often seen on altars or plaques given as gifts to the gods. It unravels as Vadum solvet libens marito. This translates to he or she willingly and deservedly fulfilled his or her vow. It describes a person who made a promise to a god, perhaps for protection during a journey or for success in business, and who has now come to pay that debt with gratitude. Then there are personal names, which were heavily abbreviated using superscript letters. The name Gaius, for instance, was almost never written in full. Instead, you would see a capital C with a small, raised letter tucked just above its curve. This symbol is the standard shorthand for Gaius. Similarly, the name Lucius was abbreviated with a capital L and a small raised C. Learning these common abbreviations is like acquiring the most essential tools for your mental toolkit. Think of it as a cheat sheet you can carry in your mind, ready to unlock the meaning behind those cryptic letter combinations and hear the voices of the people who left their mark on stone. So with those abbreviations unlocked, you can approach the most common Roman text of all, the funerary inscription, and see its underlying structure. These stones follow a predictable, almost legalistic formula, a snapshot of identity carved for eternity. It almost always begins with those two letters we just met, DM, for dis manibus, an address to the spirits of the departed. What follows immediately after is the heart of the message, the name of the deceased. And a Roman name was not just a label, it was a detailed social resume. A citizen's full name was typically a trio of parts, the praenomen, nomen, and cognomen. Think of the praenomen as a personal first name, but chosen from a very small, traditional pool, names like Marcus, Lucius, or Gaius. This is why they were so frequently abbreviated, as you learned before. Following the praenomen is the nomen, the all-important family name, or gens. This identifies the broader clan you belong to, like Cornelius or Julius. Finally, there is the cognomen, which started as a nickname but became a hereditary surname. distinguishing one branch of a large family from another, like Scipio or Caesar. To see this in action, let us read a tombstone for a man named Publius Licinius Philaunicus. The inscription would start DM, then P. Licinio Philaunica. The P stands for his prenomen, Publius. Licinio is his nomen, the family name Licinius, and Philaunica is his cognomen, his personal branch identifier. But sometimes, the story gets even more fascinating. Consider the tombstone of a freed slave, a liberatus. His inscription might read DM L. Valerio L. Spinthero. We see the standard DM, then the name Lucius Valerius Spinthero, but look closely at those extra letters between the nomen and cognomen. The LL stands for Liberty Libertus, meaning the freedman of Lucius. This tiny abbreviation tells a profound story. This man, Lucius Valerius Spinthero, was once the property of a man named Lucius Valerius. Upon being granted his freedom, he took his former master's prenomen and nomen as his own, a sign of his new status and ongoing relationship with that family, and then added his original slave name, Spinthero, as his cognomen. In just a few lines of text, you are not just reading a name, you are reading a life story, from servitude to citizenship, all encoded in the formal grammar of stone. A name on a tombstone tells a personal story, but the grand inscriptions carved into public monuments shout the official story of an empire. Walk up to the base of a towering statue or the arch of a great aqueduct, and the first words you will see are not for the spirits of the dead, but the name and titles of the most powerful person in the world. These public dedications are structured like a formal announcement, beginning with the dedicator's identity laid out in a cascade of powerful abbreviations. The very first letters often reveal the emperor himself. You might see the name Nero, followed by a string of letters like IMP, Keys, Pont Max, and Cost. Each one is a piece of his authority. IMP stands for Imperator. In the early empire, this is not just a generic title for emperor, it was a military acclamation, a victory title shouted by his loyal soldiers after a great battle. Keys for Caesar is a family name that became a title, linking the current ruler back to the legendary Julius Caesar and the founding of the imperial line. Pontimax is an abbreviation of Pontifex Maximus, the chief priest of the Roman state religion. This title gave the emperor ultimate authority over all religious matters, blending political power with divine favor. And finally, COS stands for consul, the highest elected political office of the old republic. Emperors would often hold the consulship multiple times, and the number mattered. An inscription reading COS Roman 3 means he was serving his third term as consul. This is where a simple list of titles transforms into a historical clock. If you know the years an emperor held his third consulship, you can pinpoint the date of that monument's construction with remarkable accuracy. That cluster of letters is no longer just a name, it is a timestamp, a piece of a historical puzzle waiting to be placed. Think of the next time you stand before an ancient wall, your eyes tracing those carved capitals. You are not just seeing stone, you are reading a headline from 2,000 years ago, announcing exactly who was in charge and when the cement was still wet. That headline from the Arch of Titus is still perfectly legible. Let us read it together, just as a Roman citizen would have 2,000 years ago. Carved deep into the marble, the first word we see is Senate. This is the nominative form of senatus, the Senate. It is the subject of this entire declaration, the body that ordered this monument built. The next word is Populus. That QVE at the end is not a separate word. It is the enclitic meaning and attached directly to populus, the people. So together, Senatus Populusque, the Senate and the people, a powerful phrase often abbreviated across the empire as the famous SPQR. They are the ones doing the dedicating. The inscription continues, Romans. This completes the thought, Senatus Populusque Romanus, the Senate and people of Rome. Now we reach the core of the message, the reason for the arch. The text reads, Divo Tito Divi Vespasiani F. Let us break this down. Divo is the dative case for divus, meaning to the divine. Tito is the dative for Titus, so this arch is dedicated to the divine Titus. But look at what comes next. It establishes his legendary lineage, Divi Vespasiani F. Divi is again of the divine, and Vespasiani is the genitive of Vespasianus. That final F is a crucial abbreviation. It stands for filio, meaning son. So this entire segment reads, to the divine Titus, son of the divine Vespasian. In just a few words, it proclaims that Titus is not only a god, but the son of a god, cementing the divine right of the Flavian dynasty for all to see. This is the power of reading the stone yourself. You are not just being told a story, you are deciphering the propaganda, the family legacy, and the very voice of history, one abbreviated letter at a time. Those carved words and names are anchored in time by numbers, a system that has outlasted the empire itself. You will find Roman numerals everywhere, from the cornerstones of buildings to the ages listed on tombstone. The system is built on just 7 letters: I equals 1, V equals 5, X equals 10, L equals 50, C equals 100, D equals 500, and M equals 1000. To read a number like LXXVIII, you simply add the values from left to right: 50 plus 10 plus 10 plus 5 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, which gives you 78. But the Romans were efficient, and they used a subtractive principle to avoid writing 4 ones in a row. Instead of writing 4 as III, they would write it as IV. This means 1 before 5, or 4. The same logic applies to 9, which is IX, meaning 1 before 10. So if you see an inscription with a smaller numeral before a larger one, you always subtract the smaller one. The year a building was dedicated might read MDCCLXXIX. Let us decode it together. M is 1000, D is 500, C is 100, and there are 2 of them, so 100. L is 50, X is 10, and there are 2, so 20. Then we see IX. Remember the rule: a smaller number before a larger means we subtract, so that is 1 from 10, or 9. Now add it all up. 1000 plus 500 is 1500, plus 200 is 1700, plus 50 is 1750, plus 20 is 1770. Plus 9 gives us the year 1779. But how did the Romans themselves talk about a year? They did not count from a single event like the birth of Christ. Instead, a year was defined by who held power. An inscription might end with the phrase Cus Itrum, meaning consul, for the second time, followed by the name of the second consul. To know the actual year, you would need to consult a list of consuls, a kind of historical cheat sheet that matches those names to a numbered year in our system. The months also had their own abbreviations. You might see OCT for October, or NOV for November, carved beside a specific day. This combination of consular year, month, and day allowed a Roman to pinpoint a date with absolute precision. For you, the modern decipherer, it means that a single line of numbers and abbreviations can lock an entire monument into its exact moment in history, transforming a silent stone into a dated entry from a 10-year-old calendar. Those numbers and names are locked into the stone by a hidden grammatical code. The endings of Latin words are not just decoration, they are the key to understanding who did what to whom. Think of it like a set of labels that get attached to every noun, telling you its job in the sentence. This is the system of cases. In English, we rely on word order to know that the cat chases the dog. Change the order, and the dog chases the cat, a completely different meaning. Latin, however, is a language of endings, not strict order. The meaning comes from the final few letters of each word. For reading inscriptions, you only need to master 2 of the most common cases. The first is the nominative case. This is the label for the subject of the sentence, the person or thing performing the main action. You will see this on tombstones for the name of the deceased, and on public monuments for the person being honored. The nominative case often, but not always, ends in S or a vowel sound. Look back at the inscription from the Arch of Titus. The first word, seneps, ends in VS. That is a classic nominative ending, identifying the Senate as the entity doing the action of dedicating the art. The second crucial case is the dative. This is the case for the indirect object, and it almost always translates as to or for someone. It answers the question, to whom or for whom is this action done? On a funerary stone, the dative case is used for the name of the deceased, because the stone is dedicated to them. In that same arch inscription, the words devotito are in the dative case. You can spot it from the O ending on Devo and the O ending on Tito. This literally means to the divine Titus. The entire monument is for him. So when you look at any inscription, your first question should be, can I spot the nominative and the dative? Find the word that is the main actor, and find the word that is the recipient of the action. This simple act of grammatical sorting transforms a wall of text into a clear human statement, revealing the fundamental relationship between the people and the powers carved in stone. A simple stone altar found in a Roman garrison fort makes this grammar lesson perfectly clear. The inscription reads Marti Sacavum, then the name, Septimiv Severans, and finally, a short phrase, Leg Roman 20. Let us break it down, starting with the names. The words Marti Sacrum are our first clue. Marti is the dative case for Mars, the god of war. You can hear that I ending, the clear signal for to or for. Sacrum means something consecrated or sacred. So together, this phrase means something sacred to Mars, but who made it sacred? Look at the name that follows, Septimius Severinus. Notice the S ending on Severinus, a typical nominative case ending. This identifies him as the subject, the man who performed the action. He is the one doing the dedicating. The entire core of the message is right here, a sacred thing to Mars, from Septimius Severinus. The final piece, Leg Roman 20 VV, tells us his military unit, the 20th Legion, Valeria Victrix. This small stone, found hundreds of miles from Rome, was not just a piece of religious devotion. It was a soldier's record of his duty, a personal transaction with a god carved in stone. The grammar is the contract, with the nominative case naming the soldier, and the dative case naming the divine recipient. You can see this pattern everywhere, from a soldier's humble altar to the grandest temple dedication. The emperor's name appears in the nominative, declaring he built this, while the god's name appears in the dative, declaring it was built for them. This relationship, written in the very endings of the words, is the invisible framework that holds every Roman inscription together. A soldier's name carved in stone tells you his unit, but the name of an ordinary citizen reveals the entire structure of Roman society. Every letter in a Roman name was a public declaration of status, a legal identity chiseled for the world to see. Citizenship was the ultimate prize, and the tria nomina, those three names we discussed, were its proof. A man with a prenomen, nomen, and cognomen was a Roman citizen, with all the rights and protections that entailed. But look closer, and you will find even more detail tucked into the formula. Following a name, you might see the letter F. This stands for filius, meaning son of. An inscription reading M. Agrippa L. FCOS Roman 3 tells us this is Marcus Agrippa, son of Lucius, who was consul 3 times. That tiny F establishes his lineage, connecting him to his father and anchoring him in a respected family line. Far more revealing is the letter L, standing for Libertus, freedman. This single abbreviation unlocks a dramatic story of social ascent. A freed slave did not have the full tria nomina. Instead, his name would follow a specific pattern like this, L. Valerio LL Spinthero. We see his prenomen, Lucius, and his nomen, Valerius, which he took from his former master. But between the nomen and his old slave name, Spinthero, are those crucial letters LL, Liberty Libertus, the freedman of Lucius. He is forever linked to the man who granted him his freedom, his name a permanent record of his journey from property to person. Women's names tell a different, quieter story. A citizen woman typically had only one name, the feminine form of her father's nomen. The daughter of a man named Julius was Julia. The daughter of a Cornelius was Cornelia. This practice tied a woman's identity directly to her paternal family, her most important social attribute. Sometimes, for clarity, she might be identified as the daughter of her father. An inscription might read Claudia CF, Claudia, daughter of Gaius. On rare occasions, you might even see uxor, meaning wife, connecting her to her husband. These are not just names, they are compressed biographies. In a few lines of text, you can trace a man's rise from slavery, a woman's place in a powerful clan, or a citizen's pride in his ancestry. The stone does not shout these stories. It whispers them in the quiet language of social codes, waiting for you to understand the meaning behind every single letter. That soldier's altar to Mars was a personal promise kept. Across the empire, from grand temples to hidden shrines, you will find this same transaction between a person and a divine power, carved into stone for all eternity. The most common phrase you will encounter is Vadam Solvit, or its abbreviation VS. This simple declaration means he or she fulfilled a vow. It is the final act in a sacred bargain. A Roman would have prayed to a god, making a promise, a vadam. They might have pledged to build an altar if their sick child recovered, or to donate a statue if their business venture succeeded. When the prayer was answered, they returned to the temple and settled their debt, literally solving the vow as if it were a financial obligation. The full, elegant formula is often written as Vadam Solvit Libens Merito, willingly and deservedly. It was an act of gratitude, recorded permanently in stone. The gods themselves are summoned by powerful abbreviations. The king of the gods, Jupiter, is almost never written in full. You will see IOM for Iovi Optimo Maximo, meaning to Jupiter, the best and greatest. This was his official cult title, a recognition of his supreme authority. In the shadowy, underground temples of mystery cults, the inscriptions become even more cryptic. A dedication to the sun god Mithras might read Dia P for Dio Eterno Patri, to the eternal Father God. These are not just names, they are theological statements, defining the god's character and power in just a few compressed letters. Reading one of these altars is like listening to a 2,000-year-old prayer. Imagine a small stone found near a riverbank. It reads Nymphies VSLM, Tibervs Clavdivs Felix. The first word nymphies is in the dative case, meaning to the nymphs, the spirit goddesses of that very spring. Then, VSLM, he willingly and deservedly fulfilled his vow. Finally, the dedicator, Tiberius Claudius Felix, his name in the nominative case, declaring himself the one who performed this act. In this brief text, you can almost see Tiberius, perhaps a local farmer, coming to the water's edge in a moment of desperation or thanks. The stone is his receipt, his testament to a faith that moved him to pick up a chisel and record his gratitude. These inscriptions are the heartbeat of Roman religion, not the grand state ceremonies, but the quiet, personal moments where an individual reached out to the divine and left a permanent mark, proving their prayer was heard. A soldier's tombstone, found on the windswept border of northern England, tells a story not just of duty, but of a life that spanned the empire. These military markers are among the most personal and revealing inscriptions you will ever encounter. The formula begins predictably with the name of the deceased soldier, but immediately following his name, you will find his unit, the lifeblood of his identity. This is almost always abbreviated, like Leg Roman 2 AVG. LEG stands for Legio, or Legion. The Roman numeral Roman 2 tells you this is the Second Legion, and AVG is the crucial abbreviation for Augusta, its honorary title. This single line, Leg Roman 2 AVG, places this man squarely within a specific community of 5,000 men, a traveling city of the sword. You might also see cohorts of auxiliary soldiers, non-citizens who served for 25 years to earn citizenship, marked with inscriptions like COHIB. This decodes as Cohors Prima Bataverum, the first Batavian cohort. These units reveal the staggering ethnic diversity of the Roman army, with soldiers recruited from every corner of the known world. Next, the inscription lists his rank. The word miles, meaning soldier, is common, identifying an ordinary legionary. But if you see the abbreviation cent, you are looking at a centurion, a professional officer who commanded 80 men. This one word separates the common soldier from the career commander, a man with significantly more pay and status. Then comes the human detail that brings the stone to life. The inscription often lists his birthplace, his age at death, and his years of service. A typical line might read, Vixit annos XXXX, stipendium Roman 25. Vixit annos means he lived for years, followed by the number, in this case 40. Stipendium means of military service, followed by the number 25. This tells a poignant story. This man enlisted at the age of 15 and served for a quarter of a century, dying just as he was likely due to receive his honorable discharge and his grant of land or money. His birthplace might be listed as a distant province, like Hispania or Syria. Imagine a young man from the sunny hills of Spain, spending his entire adult life guarding a rainy stone wall in Britain, his origins forever recorded in the cold granite of his tomb. These inscriptions are more than memorials. They are the personnel records of a global superpower, each one a tiny tile in the vast mosaic of the Roman world. That soldier's tombstone speaks of a finished life, but another kind of inscription celebrates the act of creation itself. Across the empire, from aqueducts to amphitheaters, the language of construction is carved directly into the stone. These are not quiet memorials, but public boasts of achievement. The most powerful word you will find is fecit. It means he made it or he built it. This single verb is a declaration of permanent credit. When an emperor or a wealthy benefactor paid for a new public bath or repaired a crumbling temple, they made sure everyone knew who was responsible. You might see an inscription reading, Imp Caesar Trajanus Hanc Balneum Fecit. Imperator Caesar Trajan built this bathhouse. The name is in the nominative case as the subject, and fecit is the powerful action verb, linking him directly to the physical structure. Another crucial term is restituit, meaning he restored it. This is just as important as building something new. An emperor restoring an ancient temple was showing respect for tradition while demonstrating his own power and piety. An inscription might read, M. Aurelius Antoninus Templum Vesti Restituit. Marcus Aurelius Antoninus restored the Temple of Vesta. This act of preservation was a powerful political statement, connecting the current ruler to the revered founders of the city. But these inscriptions often go further, revealing the financial mechanics behind the project. The phrase pecunia sua, with his own money, appears frequently. This was a point of immense pride for a private citizen, showing a generous gift to the community without using public funds. For an emperor, it demonstrated his personal wealth and benevolence. Even more telling is the phrase ex testamento, from the will of. This means the funds for the building came from the estate of a deceased person carrying out their final wishes. An inscription might read, Hoc opus ex testamento Licinii facii indem curevit. He saw to it that this work was built from the will of Licinia. This transforms the stone into a legal document, ensuring a person's legacy would live on through public works long after their death. When you read these words, you are not just looking at a builder's signature. You are reading a complex story of finance, politics, and personal legacy, all engineered to shape public opinion for millennia to come. The stone is cool to the touch, its edges softened by centuries of rain. This is the final test, where every lesson converges into a single human story. Let us read it together from beginning to end. The inscription starts, as they so often do, with the letters Diem dis manibus, to the spirits of the departed. This sacred phrase consecrates the space, a doorway to the underworld. The next line reveals the deceased, his name carved with the full weight of his citizenship. It reads, MVLPO MF Cuverina Secundo. Let us decode this. The M is the abbreviation for his prenomen, Marcus. Vilupio is his nomen, Ulpius, his family clan. Then we have MF. That F stands for Filius, son of. So Marcus Ulpius, son of Marcus. The next word, Quirina, is not a name, but his voting tribe, a further mark of his Roman citizen status. And finally, Secundo, his cognomen, his branch of the family. So we have Marcus Ulpius Secundus, son of Marcus, of the Quirina tribe. Now the stone tells us about his life. The next line is Vixit Annies Roman 48. He lived for 48 years, a simple, stark fact, but the inscription continues, Militavit in Legion Roman 20 Vivi. He served as a soldier in the 20th Legion, Valeria Victrix. We know this legion was stationed in Britain, guarding the northern frontier. He was a man who spent his life far from home in a cold foreign land. The next phrase introduces another person, HFC. This stands for Here's Faciendum Curavit. His heir saw to it that this was built. The stone itself was the responsibility of the person who inherited his estate, a final duty performed. And then the last line, an epitaph that speaks across the millennia, Beni Morenti Deci, to the one who well deserved it from him. This is not just a legal obligation, it was an act of affection and respect. The heir believed that Marcus Ulpius Secundus was a good man, a man who deserved this permanent remembrance. So from just a few lines, a full life emerges. A Roman citizen, a soldier of a famous legion, who lived 48 years and was remembered fondly by the friend or family member he left behind. His world, his duty, and his character are all right here, waiting in the stone for anyone who knows how to look. Marcus Ulpius Secundus lived and died as one man, but the words of an emperor were designed to echo for eternity. These are not simple tombstones, they are sprawling resumes in stone, listing every victory, every building project, and every divine favor. The most famous of all was written by the first emperor himself, Augustus. His Res Gesti Divi Augusti, or the Deeds of the Divine Augustus, was copied and displayed across the empire, a masterclass in political propaganda. To read it is to parse a dense text of relentless self-praise, but the abbreviations provide the key to seeing through the spin. The inscription begins with a powerful statement of his age and authority. You might see a line like Anorvum undequing faginta, meaning at the age of 59. Then comes the list of honors, a cascade of titles. The letters Pontimex appear, Pontifex Maximus, the chief priest. You see Tr Pot, for Tribunicia Potestas, the power of a tribune, a title he held year after year, and then the number that truly matters, Imp Roman 7. This stands for Imperator 7 times. Each use of IMP signifies a major military victory, whereas soldiers hailed him as commander on the field. 7 acclamations meant 7 proven campaigns, a direct claim to unmatched military glory. The text then shifts from titles to tangible achievements. A long section lists the peoples he conquered, often with heavy abbreviations. You will find phrases like Gallius et Hispanius Provincias, meaning the provinces of Gaul and Spain. But the real focus is on his public works, the buildings that reshaped the city of Rome. He writes, Forvum Ivlevum et Basilicum, the Forum of Julius and the Basilica. Another line might read, Idem Apollines in Palatio, the Temple of Apollo on the Palatine Hill. Each of these is a concrete example of his stated generosity, a permanent monument paid for by his own wealth. The phrase pecnia me, with my own money, is repeated like a mantra. This was not a humble brag, it was a calculated political argument. By listing every theater built, every gift of grain to the people, and every temple restored, Augustus was not merely recording history, he was crafting his own legacy. He was proving he was a bringer of peace and prosperity, a benevolent ruler who deserved the loyalty of his subjects and the favor of the gods. When you learn to untangle these dense abbreviations, you do more than just translate words. You pull back the curtain on the first great public relations campaign in history. You see the man behind the marble, carefully selecting every fact and every figure to build an image of power that was meant to last forever. A perfectly preserved inscription is a rare treasure. Far more often, you will find stones scarred by time, their surfaces chipped, cracked, or worn smooth by centuries of weather and wear. A crucial letter might be missing, or an entire word erased, leaving behind a frustrating gap in the story. Yet this damage is not a dead end, it is simply a different kind of puzzle. You can learn to reconstruct the missing pieces by thinking like a detective, using the clues the stone itself provides. Your first and most powerful tool is context. Roman inscriptions follow predictable patterns, as you have already learned. If you see a funerary stone that begins with the letters DM and then a name that reads M. Arcus, with a clear gap after the M, your knowledge of common praenomina immediately suggests the missing letter is a for Marcus. The formula itself fills in the blank. Look at the words that surround the damage. If you can read part of a word, the likely completions are often limited. A fragment ending in O and I might be part of the common abbreviation for a consul, cos, followed by a Roman numeral, making it cos followed by the number. The spacing of the remaining letters is another vital clue. Stone carvers were meticulous, arranging their text to be balanced and legible. If you see a clear gap that could only fit 1 or 2 letters, it narrows the possibilities dramatically. A name like Alariv's almost certainly had an L before it, for Valerius, because no other common Roman nomen fits that single letter space. Modern scholars use a specific system to show these educated guesses in print. When you look at a transcription of an inscription, any letters inside square brackets are not actually on the stone. They represent a restoration, the most likely text that once filled the void. So a transcribed line that reads DMM Arco Antonio tells you that the first M and the O were missing or illegible, but the restorers are confident they belong there. This is not cheating, it is a scholarly acknowledgement of the damage, allowing you to see the complete intended message. Armed with these strategies, a broken stone transforms from a fragment into a solvable riddle. You stop seeing what is lost and start seeing the ghost of the original words, waiting for you to recognize their shape and give them voice once more. The broken stone presents a puzzle, but the tools to solve it have evolved from simple brushes to advanced digital scanners. Epigraphers, the detectives of the ancient world, begin their work not with assumptions, but with light. They use a technique called raking light, where a bright lamp is positioned at an extreme angle to the stone surface. This casts long shadows across the carved letters, making even the faintest grooves, worn smooth by centuries of footsteps, leap into sharp relief. A shallow cut invisible under the midday sun suddenly appears as a deep, dark trench in this angled light, revealing the ghost of a letter. For inscriptions on softer materials like wood or clay, they might create a rubbing. This involves carefully placing a special paper over the surface and gently rubbing it with a wax stick or charcoal. The raised areas of the stone darken the paper, while the carved letters remain white, creating a stark negative image. This simple method can capture details the naked eye misses, providing a portable copy for further study, but the modern revolution is three-dimensional scanning. Laser scanners now map a stone surface with sub-millimeter precision, creating a digital model that can be rotated, zoomed, and analyzed on a computer screen. Scholars can then apply virtual raking light from any direction, or even use algorithms to mathematically remove the wear and tear of ages, simulating how the inscription looked the day it was carved. This is more than just reading, it is a form of digital restoration. Yet the most crucial tool is not a piece of technology, but a principle. Epigraphers almost never trust a single, worn copy of an important text. They become textual detectives, searching for other copies of the same inscription that might have been erected in different cities across the empire. By comparing these multiple versions, a missing letter in one stone can be filled in by a pristine example from another. They also immerse themselves in the historical context, using their knowledge of grammar, naming conventions, and historical events to test their readings. Does the proposed restoration of a name follow the standard formula for a first-century freedman? Does the listed consulship match the known historical record for that year? Every proposed reading must make sense within the rigid rules of Roman society. This painstaking process transforms a solitary, damaged stone into a single piece of a vast, empire-wide jigsaw puzzle. The final reading is not a guess, but a conclusion supported by light, stone, and history, all working in concert to recover a voice the world was meant to hear. The Roman world stretched far beyond the city of seven hills, and its language was carved into stone from the rainy outposts of Britain to the sun-baked markets of Syria. These provincial inscriptions are not mere copies of texts from Rome. They are unique documents of a complex cultural fusion where Roman rule met ancient local traditions. You will often find the familiar Latin formula suddenly interrupted by the name of a local deity. In Roman Britain, a soldier might dedicate an altar to Marty Oslis, combining the Roman god of war, Mars, with Oslis, a powerful Celtic god. This is not a rejection of Roman religion, but a pragmatic fusion, a soldier covering all his divine bases by addressing the war god in a form the local spirits would understand. The personal names tell a similar story. A tombstone in a province like North Africa might commemorate a man with a Roman trianomina, but his cognomen, his third name, could be Juba, a name echoing the region's pre-Roman kings. He was a citizen of Rome, yet he carried a proud local identity in the very name that identified him as an individual. Even the grammar on these stones reveals a fascinating story. The rigid rules of classical Latin sometimes soften at the edges of the empire. You might encounter a spelling that seems like an error, a case ending that does not quite match the textbook standard. These are often not mistakes at all, but reflections of the local language's influence on how people spoke and wrote Latin. A stone in the eastern provinces might use a Greek grammatical structure, woven seamlessly into the Latin text, revealing a bilingual carver or community. Each of these variations, each local god and adapted name, is a crack in the monolithic image of a uniform Roman Empire. They show us a world of negotiation and blending, where becoming Roman did not always mean erasing who you were before. Reading a provincial inscription is like listening to a conversation between two cultures, both speaking through the medium of carved stone. The stone before you holds a simple, clear message. Let us see what you can read on your own. Here is the inscription. Take a moment to look at it. Do not worry if it feels challenging, just try to sound it out. The inscription reads DM, T Flavio TF Prisco, Vixit Annis Elex, HFC. Now, let us walk through it together. You already know the first part. DM stands for Dis Manibus, to the spirits of the departed. This is a tombstone. Next comes the name of the person who died, T Flavio. The T is the abbreviation for his prenomen, Titus. Flavio is his nomen, the family name Flavius, and you can see it is in the dative case because of the O ending, meaning this stone is dedicated to Titus Flavius. Now look at what follows his nomen, TF. You have seen this before. That F stands for Filius, son of. So this man is Titus Flavius, son of Titus. He does not have a third name, a cognomen, which tells us something about his status. He might have been a common citizen. The next part of his name is Prisco. This is his cognomen, Priscus, so his full name is Titus Flavius Priscus, son of Titus. Now the inscription gives us the facts of his life. Vixit Annis Elex. Vixit means he lived, Annis means for years, and the Roman numerals LX. L is 50, and X is 10, so 50 plus 10 is 60. He lived for 60 years. Finally, the stone tells us who erected it. HFC, this is a very common abbreviation. It stands for Here's Facium Dum Curavit, meaning his heir saw to it that this was built. A family member or a close friend honored his memory. You have just done it. You read your first complete Roman inscription from start to finish. From the sacred opening to his name, his age, and the final act of devotion from his heir, you have pieced together the life of Titus Flavius Priscus. That sense of understanding, of making a direct connection across 2,000 years, is the real treasure. You are no longer just looking at a rock, you are hearing a person. Your journey into the world of Latin inscriptions does not have to end here. The very tools used by modern scholars are now available to you online, turning your computer or phone into a personal epigraphy lab. One of the most powerful resources is the epigraphic database Heidelberg. This vast digital archive contains hundreds of thousands of inscriptions from across the Roman Empire. You can simply type a phrase you are curious about into its search bar, like Vatum Solvit, and instantly see dozens of real-world examples from different provinces, complete with photographs and expert transcriptions. Another excellent starting point is the US Epigraphy Project, which catalogs all known ancient inscriptions held in collections across the United States. Its website is incredibly user-friendly, allowing you to browse by region, material, or god mentioned, making it perfect for casual exploration. For your pocket, consider an app like the Roman Inscriptions of Britain, which lets you scroll through every stone found in that province, often with handy translations a single tap away. And if you want to deepen your knowledge, a book like Manual of Roman Everyday Writing can guide you through the nuances you have just begun to master. This is not about memorizing a dead language. It is about acquiring a new lens through which to see the ancient world. Every museum visit, every history documentary, every walk through the ruins of a Roman city will be transformed because you will carry with you the quiet confidence of a code breaker, ready to hear the whispers waiting in the stone. Two stones stand side by side in a museum display, one small and humble, the other grand and ornate. Their differences are a language in themselves, speaking volumes about the world that created them. On the left is a soldier's tombstone from the northern frontier, its inscription brief and direct. It reads DM, T Flavio TF Prisco, Vixit Annis Elex, HFC. You already know this one. It is a private story of a single life, told with the barest essentials. The language is formulaic, the abbreviations are common, and the purpose is purely personal, a final act of remembrance from a grieving heir. Now look at the stone on the right. It is a massive slab of marble, once mounted on a public building in the heart of Rome. The letters are deep and gilded, proclaiming Imp Caesar Divi Nervi F Nerva Traianus Optimus Vigigerm Dacicus Pontifex Maximus Tribunitia Postet V Imp Roman 7 Cos V pp Format Columnum Hoc Loco Fecit. The sheer density of text is overwhelming, a deliberate display of power. This is not a private memory, it is a state announcement. The language is not just formal, it is performative, stacking title upon title to create an aura of invincibility. Where the soldier's stone uses simple abbreviations like HFC, the imperial inscription deploys a complex code of authority. Germ Dacicus means conqueror of the Germans and the Dacians, advertising his military triumphs. PP stands for Pater Patrii, father of the fatherland, the ultimate honorific. Every single letter is designed to inspire awe and reinforce the social order. The soldier's stone tells you who he was. The emperor's stone tells you why you should obey him. This contrast is the very essence of Roman epigraphy. The same language, carved with the same tools, was used to whisper a quiet goodbye and to shout a declaration of absolute power from the rooftops. The hierarchy of their society is not just described in the texts. It is embodied in the very stone, the lettering, and the space each person was allotted for their story. One man gets a few lines from his friend, another gets a permanent press release carved in marble. These countless stones form a vast, decentralized archive of the Roman world. While the great historians wrote about emperors and armies, inscriptions capture the raw data of everyday existence, offering a statistical snapshot no single author could ever compile. Think about family life. A single tombstone tells you about one man, but when you analyze thousands of them, patterns of mortality and kinship emerge with startling clarity. You can calculate the average life expectancy, see how common it was for parents to bury their young children, and trace the complex bonds between freed slaves and their patrons across generations. This is demographic history written in stone, a census conducted by the dead themselves. The military organization of the empire is laid bare in the regimental rosters carved on cenotaphs. By cataloging the legions and auxiliary units named on stones from Britain to Egypt, historians can map the entire deployment of the Roman army, track the movements of specific cohorts over decades, and even understand recruitment patterns, seeing how a unit raised in Spain might later be reinforced with men from the Balkans. These are the personnel files of a global superpower. Inscriptions are also the primary ledgers of the Roman economy. A stone plaque marking the construction of a warehouse is not just a boast, it is an economic indicator. It records the flow of capital, the price of materials, and the employment of labor. Laws carved on bronze, detailing tax codes and customs duties, reveal the intricate financial machinery that fueled the provinces. You can see the cost of an altar, the wages of a stone carver, or the fortune a wealthy merchant spent on a public fountain to secure his legacy. But perhaps their greatest value lies in capturing the spiritual pulse of the empire. The thousands of altars dedicated to gods, both Roman and local, with their simple formula of Vadam Solvit, chart the geography of faith. They show which deities were popular in which regions, how soldiers carried their gods to foreign lands, and how personal piety drove countless individual acts of devotion. This is the unfiltered voice of the people, from the emperor's bombastic res gesti to the humble mark of a freedman who could finally afford a small grave for his wife. Literature gives us the official narrative, but inscriptions give us the reality, one carefully carved letter at a time. Your mental toolkit is now complete, ready to unlock any stone you might encounter. Let us gather all the essential phrases into one quick reference, your personal epigraphy field kit. First, the funerary inscriptions. You will always see DM dis manibus, to the spirits of the departed. For the name of the deceased, watch for abbreviations in the prenomen. C with a small above it means Gaius, L with a small c means Lucius, M is for Marcus, and P is for Publius. Following a name, the letter F stands for Filius, son of, while L stands for Libertus, a freedman. The phrase HFC, here's faciendum curavit, tells you his heir had this stone built. For public monuments and imperial power, the titles are key. IMP is imperator, a military commander. Quis is Caesar, the imperial family name. Pontimex is Pontifex Maximus, the chief priest. COS is consul, and the number following it, like Cos Roman 3, tells you which term he was serving. For religious dedications, the most common phrase is VSLM, Vatum Solvet Libens Marito, meaning he willingly and deservedly fulfilled his vow. You will see this on altars given to gods like IOM, Iovi Optimo Maximo, to Jupiter best and greatest. In military context, LEG is legio, a legion, and COH is cohors, an auxiliary cohort. And finally, the powerful verbs of construction. Fecit means he built it. Restituit means he restored it. Keep this list close at hand. With these few dozen letters, you hold the master key to a world carved in stone, ready to hear its stories whenever you are ready to listen. That key in your hand is a form of time travel. You can now stand before a stone that has weathered 2,000 winters and listen as its story rises from the silence. Museums transform around you, their glass cases no longer holding static artifacts but active conversations. Each inscribed surface speaks with a human voice, whether it is a proud emperor boasting of his victories or a grieving parent marking a child's grave. This skill turns a visit to ancient ruins from a passive observation into a personal encounter. You are no longer just looking at history, you are eavesdropping on it. The worn steps of a temple or the foundation of a city wall become stages where real people lived their lives, and you have learned the language they used to mark their existence. This connection is the true magic of epigraphy. It collapses the centuries between you and the Roman soldier, the merchant, or the freedwoman, allowing you to hear their hopes, their faith, and their pride directly without a single modern interpreter. You carry with you a quiet secret, the ability to read the mail the ancient world left for us, one carefully carved letter at a time. You now hold the key to a language carved in stone. What began as an indecipherable code of strange letters and cryptic symbols has transformed into a clear structure of names, titles, and heartfelt messages. You can spot the difference between a funerary dedication and an imperial boast. You can untangle the abbreviations for a soldier's legion, and you can hear the quiet gratitude in a simple Vatum Solvet. The grammar is no longer a barrier, but a guide, pointing you to the subject of the action and its recipient. These stones are no longer silent, they speak. This skill is your invitation to a personal adventure. The next time you are near a museum with a Roman collection, walk up to an inscribed stone and put your knowledge to the test. Look for those first two letters, DM. Find the name and see if you can spot the prenomen abbreviation. Read the numbers and calculate the age. You will be astonished by the immediate connection you feel. Or from the comfort of your home, you can explore the vast digital archives online, where thousands of inscriptions await your deciphering eye. We would love to hear about your discoveries. In the comments below, tell us about the first inscription you successfully read on your own. Thank you for joining this journey into the heart of ancient Rome. If you enjoyed unlocking these mysteries, subscribe for more adventures where we continue to read the world's oldest stories, one carved letter at a time.